class of operating system. Today the topic is memory management. We will learn memory management. What is memory management? First of all, we start with the definition of memory. Memory consists of a large array of words or bytes, each with its own address. The CPU fetches instruction from memory according to the value of the program counter. The CPU fetches instruction from memory according to value of program counter. The instructions from memory according to the value of program counter. These instructions may cause additional loading from and storing to specific memory address. Also, memory management can be defined as the process of intelligently handling all the memory related operation and resources in the primary memory or storage disk when there are multiple processes that are using memory and resources. It keeps track of all the memory. It may be idle in the system or can be allocated to different processes at a given time. It decides which process will get memory resource and when. It keeps track of all memory status when allocated or when idle. Now, this is the diagrammatic representation of memory management. Under memory management, there are different methods: partition allocation, fragmentation, paging, segmentation. These are the different methods which are available under memory management, which is done by operating system. Actually, the memory management algorithm vary from a primitive bare machine approach to paging and segmentation strategies. Each approach has its own advantages and disadvantages. Selection of a memory management method for a specific system depends on many factors, especially on the hardware design of the system. Many algorithms require hardware support, although recent designs have closely integrated the hardware and operating system. Now again, we will learn something more about memory management. Program must be brought from disk into memory and placed within a process for execution. Second, main memory and registers are built into the processor itself, are the only storage that the CPU can access directly. There are machine instructions that take memory address as argument, but none that take disk addresses. Therefore, any instruction in execution and any data being used by the instructions must be in one of these direct access storage devices. If the data are not in memory, they must be moved there before the CPU can operate on them. Registers that are built into the CPU are generally accessible within one cycle of CPU block. Most CPUs can decode instructions and perform simple operations on register content at the rate of one or more operations per clock tick. The same cannot be said of main memory, which is accessed via a transaction on the memory bus. Completing a memory access may take many cycles of the CPU clock. In such cases, the processor normally needs to stall since it doesn't have the data required to complete the instruction that it is executing. This situation is intolerable because of the frequency of memory access. Cache sits between main memory and CPU register. Protection of memory required to ensure correct operation. Protection of memory required to ensure the correct operation. Now we will learn about the base and limit register. Protection of memory space is accomplished by having the CPU hardware compare every address generated in user modes with the register. Any attempt by a program executing in user mode to access operating system memory or other users' memory result in a trap to operating system, which treats the attempt as a fatal error. In the figure it is shown there are a pair of base and limit register which defines the logical address space of a process. It defines the logical address space. CPU must check every memory access generated in user mode to be sure it is between base and limit for that user process. Address binding. Addresses represented in different ways at different stages of a program's life. What is address space? The operating system executing in kernel mode is given unrestricted access to both operating system memory and user's memory. This provision allows the operating system to load user's program into user's memory to dump out those programs. Usually a program resides on a disk as a binary executable file. To be executed, the program must be brought into memory and placed within a process. Depending on the memory management in use, the process may be moved between disk and memory during its execution. The processes on the disk that are waiting to be brought into memory for execution from the input queue. The normal procedure is to select one of the process in input queue and to load that process into memory. As the process is executed, it accesses instruction and data from memory. Eventually, the process terminates and its memory space is declared available. Now, what is address binding? Address represented in different ways of different stages of a program's life. Source code address usually symbolic. It is a variable name. Compiler bind this symbolic address into relocatable address. That is called compile time. If you know at compile time where the process will reside in memory, then absolute code can be generated. For example, if you know that a user process will reside starting at location R, then the generated compiler code will start at the location and extend up from there. If at some later time the starting location changes, then it will be necessary to recompile this code. The MS-DOS format programs are bound at compile time. Now, linker or loader. linker or loader, actually these are absolute addresses. There are one more thing I want to explain a little bit. If it is not compiled, if the address is not compiled at compile time where the process will reside in memory, then the compiler must generate relocatable code. In this case, final binding is delayed until load time. If the starting address change, we need only reload the user code to incorporate this changed value. Then there is execution time. If the process can be moved during its execution from one memory segment to another, the binding must be delayed until runtime. Special hardware must be available for this scheme to work. Now binding to memory address. These are the binding I have already explained. One is compile time, which is also known a priori and is called absolute code can be generated from it. Then there is load time. Load time is used if relocatable code is generated. And then final binding is delayed till load time. And then execution time. Binding delayed until runtime if the process can be moved during its execution from one memory segment to another. Now we will learn logical address space versus physical address space. There are two types of address space. One is logical address space, another is physical address space. An address generated by CPU is commonly referred to as logical address space, whereas an address sent by the memory unit, that is the one loaded into the memory address register of memory, is commonly referred to as a physical address. The compile time and load time address binding method generate identical logical and physical addresses. However, the execution time address binding schemes result in different logical and physical address. In this case, we usually refer to logical address as virtual address. We use logical address and virtual address interchangeably here. The set of all logical addresses generated by a program is logical address space. The set of all physical addresses corresponding to these logical addresses is a physical address space. Thus, in the execution time address binding scheme, the logical and physical address space must differ. Now, this is about memory management scheme. Look at the diagram. Then for the time being, we illustrate this mapping with a simple MMU scheme. What is MMU scheme? It is memory management unit scheme, that is a generalization of base register scheme. The base register, what is base register is called? The base register is now called a relocation register. The value in the relocation register is added to every address generated by a user process at the time the address is sent to memory. For example, if the base is at, just have a detailed look in the diagram, if the base is at 14,000, then an attempt by the user to address location 0 is dynamically relocated to location 14,000 and access to location 346 is mapped to location 14,346. MS-DOS operating system running on the Intel 8086 family of processors used 4 relocation registers when loading and running processes. The user program never sees the real physical address. The program can create a pointer to location 346, store it in memory, manipulate it, and compare it with other addresses, all at number 346. Only when it is used as memory address is it relocated relative to base register. The user program deals with logical addresses. The memory mapping hardware converts logical addresses into physical addresses. This form of execution time binding we need to discuss in detail. Now we will learn about swapping. What is swapping? Total physical memory space of process can exceed its memory. It means a process must be in memory to be executed. A process, however, can be swapped temporarily out of memory to a backing store and then brought back into memory for continued execution. For example, assume a multi-programming environment with a round-robin CPU scheduling algorithm. When a quantum expires, the memory manager will start to swap out the process that just finished and to swap another process into memory space that have been freed. In the meantime, the CPU scheduler will allocate a time slice to some other processes in memory. When each process finishes its quantum, it will be swapped with another process. Ideally, the memory manager can swap processes fast enough that some process will be in memory ready to execute. When ready to execute when the CPU scheduler wants to reschedule the CPU. In addition, the quantum must be large enough to allow reasonable amount of computing to be done between swaps. A variant of this swapping policy is used for priority based scheduling algorithm. If a higher priority process arrives and want service, the memory manager can swap out the low priority process and then load and execute the high priority process. When the high priority process finishes, the low priority process can be swapped back in and continued. The variant of swapping is sometimes called rollout and roll-in. Normally, a process that is swapped out will be swapped back into the same memory space it occupied previously. This restriction is dictated by the method of address binding. If binding is done at assembly or load time, then the process cannot be easily moved to a different location. If execution time binding is being used, however, then a process can be swapped into a different memory space because the physical addresses are computed during execution. Look at the diagram in detail. Here it is shown that swap in and swap out of processes occurs. Look at the diagram. One process of higher priority is swapped in and the other process of low priority is swapped out. Now, whenever the CPU scheduler decides to execute a process, it calls the dispatcher. So, one more concept arises of dispatcher. What is the role of dispatcher? The dispatcher checks if the next process in the queue is available in memory. If it is not, and if there is no free memory region, the dispatcher swaps out a process currently in memory and swap in the desired process. Major part of swap time is transfer time. Total transfer time is directly proportional to the amount of memory swapped. If we have a computer system, say with 4 GB of main memory and a resident operating system taking 1 GB, the maximum size of user process is say 3 GB. So these are some of the example where user process of 100 memory transfer rate is given it is 50 MB per second. The actual transfer rate of 100 MB process to or from main memory, it takes 100 MB or 50 MB per second in 2 seconds. Contiguous allocation. It is contiguous allocation. Main memory must accommodate both the operating system and the various user processes. We therefore need to allocate main memory in the most efficient way possible. The memory is usually divided in two partitions. What is one for the resident operating system and one for the user processes. We can place the operating system in either low memory or high memory. The major factor affecting this decision is the location of interrupt vector. Since the interrupt vector is often in low memory, programmers usually use this operating system in low memory as well. So this is all about resident operating system. In contiguous memory allocation, however, each process is contained in a single contiguous section of memory. Thank you. Hope you have understand the concept.